As expected, the Fed cut 25 basis points yesterday, lowering their target rate down to 4% to 4.25%. This was the first cut since December of 2024. Additionally, they released their updated summary of economic projections, aka the dot plot, which indicated the average member thought there would be 2 more cuts by the end of the year. Now, the estimates on the dot plot were wide-ranging, but overall they averaged out to 2. In their statement, the Fed recognized that uncertainty about the economic conditions is elevated, but the downside risk to employment have also increased. Therefore, they felt comfortable cutting. In his press conference, Powell alluded to the fact that they do see inflation ticking higher, but the tariff transmission has been slower and less than they've expected. And additionally, slower growth and lower unemployment would actually have the effect of tamping down inflation as well. So they felt a 25 basis point cut was warranted. Powell, as a matter of fact, he called this a risk management cut, which people found interesting. There was one dissent, newly appointed Stephen Miron. He argued that there should have been a 50 basis point cut. The fact that there was only one dissent was surprising to most. Powell came out and said that there really wasn't much of a surge, or an interest in cutting 50 basis points at this time. At the end of the day, the market fully expected 25 basis points, but they were really worried about the dynamics of the Fed and how much dissension there may be. And the minutes might ultimately show that, but 25 basis points was what was expected. It's what we got. The dot plot was what is interesting. There's 19 members casting their estimates. 10 indicated that they would expect 2 or more by the end of the year, with an outlier expecting 5. However, 9 indicated they would expect 2, less than 2, or maybe even 0. So there's definitely some sort of split. Powell himself, by the fact that he called it a risk management cut, doesn't indicate that he expects to go on a lengthy deep rate cutting cycle at this point for him. Now, that could obviously change. I would say that there's a strong probability of a cut in October. There's only one employment report between now and then. There's not going to be another annual revisions report like we saw last month. So if you see an average to week report, I pretty much would expect the Fed to go ahead and cut in October. There's a number of data points between now and December, so I wouldn't say that's a slam dunk. It is the expectation. But Powell, by his comments to me, didn't indicate that he was ready to go on a series of cuts at this time. I think financial professionals should still be concerned about interest rate volatility, despite a Fed cut. The Fed cut 25 basis points on the front end, but by the end of the meeting, long end rates were higher. Now, maybe that was telegraphed and it was just the long end giving some back, but at the end of the day, most people, it's counterintuitive. They expect when the Fed cuts rates, all rates to go down, but that doesn't have to happen. There's many reasons that could keep long rates elevated. Powell alluded to inflation still being sticky. We still have growth in this country. We still have low unemployment. That could keep rates higher for the time being. Additionally, non-US rates, relative to their recent history of about 15 years, are higher, which makes it attractive for their domestic buyers. So there's a couple reasons why long end rates could stay higher, and this may confuse some investors. We don't know what the final shape of the curve is going to be or how long it's going to take to get there. We do know that when the Fed's cutting rates, cash rates come down. So people sitting in cash, financial professionals, they may want to start thinking about maybe adding some short duration or thinking about flexible interest rate duration positioning as cash rates come down, because we do expect at least 1 or 2 more cuts by the end of the year.